So Zaki, there's so many differences now and competition in the market between now and 15 years ago. What's the difference between you standing out from the crowds to the competition?
Very good question, Ellie. 15 years ago, that is true. DDP was probably one of the first buyer's agents in Australia. When I say one of the first, especially to make use of social media and YouTube, there was no real Instagram back then. Facebook pages had just come out. And here at DDP, I personally definitely capitalized on this. I think of podcast shows that we're doing here. In fact, we were doing this when we started DDP through YouTube, and we'd have someone like yourself interview myself on various topics. And I look at what's happening these days with the competition and I go, well, they're actually just doing what I did 15 years ago. So how are we different? Well, I think we've got to look at any major corporation. How are they any different? How is Woolworths any different to Coles, or how is Qantas any different to Virgin? I mean, they provide a core service. They've got to deliver on that product and they've got to back it up with great customer service. And I feel competition's great and competition is healthy. And I'm glad there's competition. And I think the reason I'm glad there's competition is because when DDP property started, the concept of a buyer's agent, the concept of a property investment consultant, that was very foreign. It took a lot of convincing for myself and then the team I built to help explain to a buyer the importance of being represented from a buyer's advocacy point of view, as opposed to a selling agent that does not have your interests. Nowadays, thankfully, because of competition and education in the market and social media, buyers or the market in general are far more receptive when you explain, well, this is what a buyer's agent does. So that's important to me because from an ethical point of view, the reason I ran DDP is not because, yes, it'd be great to run a business, is because I believed that buyers need to be represented no matter what. So that makes me very happy that there is more and more competition for buyers to be represented, and not as a threat to DDP. I only see it as how does DDP improve, or how does the market, how can we do better for our buyers? So in terms of answering the question, are we any different? Is DDP any different to all the other companies out there? I feel 15 years running a company, especially in the real estate market, especially also running in various different states and cities. We're not a buyer's agent just for Sydney or a certain suburb or Melbourne or Queensland or Brisbane. We find properties Australia-wide, and that requires a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge, a lot of understanding, a lot of empathy, knowing how your buyers operate, know how those markets operate, know how the real estate agents operate, and know the different state laws, the pest and build laws. So there's a lot of experience when we say DDP is just a buyer's agent. Well, we're not just a buyer's agent, because a buyer's agent might be just one individual representing you in a property. We represent properties Australia-wide for clients that are looking for properties $200,000 all the way to $1 million. I don't believe there's much competition out there in that space, in the sense that today in the morning, we may have a buyer that's looking for a $300,000 property, be it in regional Queensland or regional Victoria, because that is what him or her can afford to buy based on affordability. And that's one of the driving reasons, is to make property affordable for everybody. The second part of it is then we may have a different conversation with a client that might be looking for a $750,000 brand new property because he's paying high income tax and needs to use depreciation to lower their tax bracket. And so then we've got partners with developers and builders. So we're having two very different competition. One's trying to get into the market, and we're serving that part in terms of helping an everyday person get into the property market. The other type of buyer is paying a lot of tax and wants to minimize their tax, and they need advice about where should they buy a brand new property and who's the correct builder or developer and where they're going to grow equity, and then giving advice and strategy around that. So we may have a first-time buyer buying a cheap property. Recently, we had a client that owns, I think, approximately 25 properties, and he needed advice about how to reach $500,000 passive income in a number of years. A very different profile. That keeps DDP different, not only over the last 15 years. It's just that the service we provide is very unique. It's very different. It's very diverse, and it is not specific to an area where we just say, oh yeah, this is the best area for you. No, every buyer is different. Every situation is different, and you have to customize and consult and advise on that. From a marketing point of view, true, it might be flash cars and, flash this and look at my property portfolio. Look how great, I have 50 properties, 100 properties, 200 properties. I mean, I have personally not spoken about my personal property portfolio, I think, for nearly good 10 years out of 15 years at DDP, because this company is not built on look at Zaki and his success. It's built on, well, what's the team doing? How's the team succeeding? And how are my buyers succeeding? And I think buyers can see through that. And that's how longevity shows as the company grows. But I'm glad there's competition around because it'll keep us growing.